Welcome to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show, a real estate investment program. Listen and learn how to use real estate to build wealth and passive income streams for you and your family. We bring you experts every day to discuss and answer your questions on everything from single-family homes all the way up to 600-plus unit apartment complexes. And now, the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. On today's show, I'm going to get into some information that I found with regards to your future. That's right. I've got my crystal ball out. Okay, I don't have a crystal ball. And if I did, it wouldn't work because I can't predict the future. Or can I? Actually, I'm pretty good at looking at trend information and making assumptions based on what that trend information is telling me. And what we're going to talk about today is information you need to consider with regards to your future. Yes, your future, not my future. I've already got my stuff taken care of. I've got it figured out. I'm worried about your future. See, I was looking at Vanguard's site. Now, Vanguard is one of those big organizations that provides financial planning and, for people that have 401ks or other vehicles like that, or maybe they're just directing their own money. Vanguard is one of those organizations that will help you invest your money. And, of course, they make money doing it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's part of capitalism. But the problem with what most Americans are doing for investment for their future is this. You're not saving enough money. You really aren't. I mean, I've got all kinds of stats that tell me that you're going to get to a point in your life and you're going to say, that's it. I'm done. I'm retired. You're going to figure out when you're going to draw your Social Security, and then you're going to start drawing on whatever amount of money you've accumulated over the years and living off that money. And then, of course, praying that you die before you run out of money. Because when you run out of money, there's really no way for you to create money if you follow that game plan. Now, I got to qualify that. There is a way. I mean, you could go back to work. But is that what you want to do when you're in your 70s or your 80s? I would think not. I would definitely think not. But here's what I got from Vanguard. I mean, they've got some good information. I'm not picking on Vanguard today. But they made this claim, and they said that they tell their financial planners to tell you to plan on spending anywhere from 75 to 85% of your current income once you retire. So, I mean, what does that mean? All right, let's just say you make $100,000 a year. Now, I'm just throwing a number out there. I don't know if that's even close to what you make. It doesn't even matter. But what Vanguard is saying is that plan on spending $75,000 to $85,000 per year in retirement after you retire. And they make this qualified statement. They say that you should plan on spending less because you're going to pay less in payroll taxes. I mean, that would indicate that you're probably self-employed or you own a business. You probably won't have any debt, assuming that you paid most of it off before you retired. Because I'll tell you that bad debt, that consumer debt, you don't want to have any of that stuff. You're not going to be paying into retirement savings because, you're effectively retired. And as a result of that, I mean, you're not working, so you're not going to be contributing money to retirement savings. And then things like everyday expenses like gasoline and clothing that are required to get you to and from work and to make you presentable while you're at work, those go away. And then Vanguard drops the bomb. They say this rule doesn't work for everyone. They go on to say, don't forget to consider any additional expenses you might be expecting, like things like expensive travel or other lifestyle purchases, things. And they give an example of maybe buying a second home or a boat. Then they say, consider college tuition or other gifts to family members. And now here's the one we're going to talk about today. Higher than average healthcare expenses. That's right. It's going to become more expensive for you medically in the future. Your body will start to break down. It is a biological fact. That 18-year-old body that you had in your 40s, well, you know in your 40s you can't do what you did when you were 18. Now, some of you can. I mean, there are Tom Brady's out there, don't get me wrong. But they're an anomaly. And by the way, Tom Brady's line of work requires him to work out extensively. Yeah, and you know what? Tom Brady is a pretty good quarterback. I'll give you that. But even he is feeling the effects of aging. Now, Vanguard goes on to say this. They said their recent report showed that the average retirement plan account balance among those ages 45 to 54 was about $115,000. That's not a lot of money, folks. And let's say you get to a point where maybe you can double that. So you're looking at maybe what, $230,000? So as I pointed out on Monday's show, $230,000, if you deplete it down at, say, $2,000 a month in drawdown, assuming you're going to get $2,000 in Social Security, that would give you $4,000 a month, which, by the way, is only $48,000. And Vanguard said that if you made $100,000, you probably need to be considering spending 75 to 85% of that. Yeah, you know where I'm going. What you're doing now for retirement is probably not working. It probably is going to fail you in the future. And you don't want to find out in the future that what you're doing is ineffective, because there's no going back in time. You cannot change things once they've already occurred. Yeah, it's just the way it is. So when we come back from the break, I'm going to tell you about some of the things that I found regarding the common elderly health issues that are affecting Americans. I've got a great report by Texas A&M University. When we come back, I'm going to share it with you. Stick around.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. It's time to turn up the volume and fine-tune your passive income plan so you can create the lifestyle you've always wanted.
Welcome back to the show. So I'm going to open up the call lines, because if you have some information you want to share with the rest of the listeners, I'm totally cool with allowing you to share it. Give me a call at 855-497-4335. Again, that number is 855-497-4335. Of course, you can always send me an email at askal@luinc.com. That's askal, A-S-K-A-L, at LUINC, stands for Lifestyles Unlimited Incorporated. .com. I will personally answer your emails. And I get some great emails from you. I really do appreciate them. And we get into some good dialogues, and we talk about all kinds of different subjects with regards to real estate investing and how to get started and, retirement issues, things like that. I mean, I am not pretending to be a retirement guru. I am not. But I will tell you this. I know enough to be very, very dangerous. And the more research that I do, the more information I receive. And then, of course, I process that information and I share that information with you, because I think you're very busy, but you're tuning in because you want information. And I'm here to give it to you. So according to Texas A&M University, when you get older, there are things that will impact you physically with your health. That's right. Yeah, when you get into your 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, you have a tendency to have more health issues than you had at an earlier age. Yeah, it's the way biology works. Now, that's not for everybody. Now, some people, I get that. Some people have the ability to get all the way through life and never suffer any of this stuff. But they are a rare exception. So the first thing Texas A&M points out is that elderly people have a tendency to develop a chronic disease. And they were citing the National Council on Aging, and they said that 92% of seniors have at least one chronic disease and 77% have at least two. Now, the most common chronic diseases that they cited are things like heart disease, stroke, cancer, and diabetes. And it can be very costly to treat those ailments in the future. Yeah, because it's costly to treat those things now, but in the future, well, it's going to be more expensive. Health care costs are rising. So something you need to consider about it. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom guy. I'm just saying you need to consider that maybe you might have these issues in the future. And I'll share with you, I've got chronic health issues myself, and I'm only the age of 57. So, and they're not going away. They're not going away. They're a part of my physiology. Another thing they pointed out was elderly people tend to have issues with cognitive health. Now, cognitive health is focused on a person's ability to think, learn, and remember. And the most common cognitive health issues facing the elderly is something called dementia, which is the loss of those cognitive functions. They went on to cite that 47.5 million people worldwide have dementia, a number that is, now get this, predicted to nearly triple in size by 2050. And the most common form of dementia is something called Alzheimer's disease. My father actually had that. And they went on to state this, that as many as 5 million people over the age of 65 suffering from Alzheimer's in the United States. That was a stat that was based back in 2016. Yeah. So something that you need to think about. Now, also, according to the National Institute on Aging, they went on to say that other chronic health conditions and diseases increase the risk of developing dementia, such as substance abuse, diabetes, hypertension, depression, HIV, and smoking. And currently, there really are no cures for dementia. So, how are they treating it? Well, they're treating it based on some kind of treatment plan and medication to help manage the disease because there is no cure for it. Now, Texas A&M cited the World Health Organization with regards to mental health. And according to the World Health Organization, over 15% of adults over the age of 60 suffer from a mental disorder. A common mental disorder among the seniors is depression, and it occurs in 7% of the elderly population. Older adults also account for over, get this, 18% of suicide deaths in the United States. Yeah, it's not a pretty picture. Now, the report goes on to talk about physical injury. That's right, physical injury. And Texas A&M basically said this. They said every 15 seconds, an older adult is admitted to the emergency room for a fall, and a senior dies from falling every 29 minutes, making this the leading cause of injury amongst the elderly. Yeah. I mean, because trust me, your bone density will decrease over time. It's even worse for women, but it happens to men too. Now, here's one that kind of caught me off guard because I didn't think that this might be an ailment for the elderly. Something to do with HIV and AIDS and other sexually transmitted disease. Apparently, the elderly are still sexually active, and that's okay. According to a 2013 report by the CDC, they found that 21% of AIDS cases occurred in seniors over the age of 50 in the United States, and 37% of deaths that same year were people over the age of 55. Yeah, so I mean, that stuff is out there, and it has the potential to affect you, depending on how you live your lifestyle. Now, there's some more information with regards to ailments out there. I mean, I've actually got about 5 more I want to share with you, but I don't want to turn this whole segment into doom and gloom. I really don't. So what I want to do is remind you that I have the call lines open. You can reach me at 855-497-4335. Again, that number is 855-497-4335. You can ask me anything you want, or we can talk about what I'm talking about today and the projected future costs with regards to aging. As a matter of fact, when we come back from the break, I'm going to talk about what the average health care costs in 2019 were based on age. These are numbers, you need to be aware of because you need to factor these in to your future projections. We'll be back right after these messages.
We're back with the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. We're here to answer your questions and help you become financially free.
Welcome back to the show. So the lines are open if you'd like to call in at 855-497-4335. Again, that number's 855-497-4335. Or you can always shoot me an email at askal@luinc.com. That's askal@luinc.com. In the last segment, I was talking about some of the things that could potentially impact you in the future as you get older. These are conditions that affect the elderly as reported by Texas A&M University. And there's more. I mean, I could share the rest of the list with you, but I think you get the point. We don't know what our future will look like. We really don't. I mean, we can do everything in the current environment to plan for the future, but we don't know what's going to happen 5 years or 10 years or 15 years from now. We just don't know. So while we're living in the current moment, what we need to do is prepare for the future. Now, maybe you're of an age group where you're thinking, man, you know, the future, that is so far in the future. I'm just worried about trying to get by today. I get that. I've been there. Maybe you think, well, you know what? I'm putting money away. I mean, I'm working hard. I'm making good money. I'm saving money in a 401k or an IRA, or I've got my own, stock investments that I'm managing myself, and I'm building money for the future. And I get that. I've been there too. But I will tell you this, based on all the research that I've been doing this week, the majority of Americans will fall short financially. And one of the reasons that you will fall short financially is that you really haven't projected what it's going to cost you to live in the future. And one of those major costs, potentially, I mean, you could be of great health. I mean, you might be one of those 1 out of 1,000 people that does fine, never have health issues. You might catch a cold once in a million years. Or you might be like the rest of us that's going to deal with something. And that something's going to creep up on you. And usually when you get that something doesn't necessarily go away. And that was my point that I was making in the last segment. So you're saying to yourself, okay, maybe I haven't thought about the cost of healthcare in the future. And maybe your healthcare planning is linked to getting to a certain age. I think it's 62, 65, I'm not sure. And counting on things like Medicare and Medicaid. Maybe that's your financial fallback for dealing with these health problems. I don't know. Or maybe you've got insurance right now that will carry with you through old age. I don't know what you have. Healthcare is not projected to be any cheaper in the future. According to CMS.gov, they reported per capita healthcare spending based on age groups. Now, the report I found it's a little dated. I mean, it basically is an analysis of 2002 through 2014. So, yeah, it's a little dated. But let me just share with you the 2014 numbers that they reported. They said that healthcare costs for males ages 45 to 64, this is reported information, almost $10,000 per year. $10,000 per year per capita spending for healthcare. When you get to 65 and over, it jumps to over $18,000. And if you get to the age of 84, if you make it that long, you're looking at around $30,000 a year per capita in spending. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the total amount that's going to come out of your pocket. But most insurance providers out there have certain copays. They have certain expectations that you will contribute towards those healthcare costs. Now, for women, numbers are not much better. As a matter of fact, they're a little bit worse. Ages 45 to 64, they reported that the per capita spending was right at $10,500. If you're 65 or older, it jumped to almost $20,000. And if you were 84 or older, and women have a tendency to live longer than men, that number bounced to $34,300. Now, I went and I looked at statistics that are a little more current. And what they indicated to me was that in 2019, and this is a per capita, not based on age, it's just based on per capita, per person. 2019, U.S. healthcare spending increased 4.6% to reach $3.8 trillion, which amounts to $11,582 per person. And what that means is that healthcare costs are indeed going up. They are. I found a lot of other statistical data out there that indicated to me that healthcare ain't getting cheaper. So when you factor in what your future expenses will be for living, you need to take into consideration what you're going to do for healthcare. What healthcare plans will you be on? Some healthcare plans will carry you to a point where you get to the age of Medicare. And when you become eligible for Medicare, you transition over. Yeah, that's the way it works. And then maybe your healthcare plan becomes a supplemental insurance, which might keep your costs down. But again, I use the word insurance, and therefore there's a cost associated with that. These are things that you need to think about for the future. At the beginning of the show, I started off and I said, look, if you make $100,000 per year, Vanguard said that their financial planners will advise you to plan on spending 75 to 85% of your current income once you retire. So I don't know how old you are. I don't know, let's pick a number. Let's go with 50. That's a nice, easy number. And let's say you're making $100K a year, and that's totally cool. But if you're looking to the future, what you're anticipating is that at the age of 65, maybe you're going to retire at 65, you need to be at a point, according to Vanguard, you need to have about $75,000 to $85,000 coming in per year. Now, keep in mind, at the age of 50, you're still earning money. And provided you continue to work, you may get raises and things like that. So your income streams may go up. And what Vanguard is saying, be prepared to live off of less money. I mean, that's exactly what they're saying. So let's do some math here. So if you had $75,000 available to you at the age of 65, 15 years from now, are you going to be able to make it? Can you make it if you're getting Social Security? Well, I'm going to answer that question when we come back from the break.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Now, let's get back to your map to financial freedom.
All right, so as promised in the last segment, I'm actually going to get into some of the math because I want you to understand what the future might look like for you. So let's say you're doing what Vanguard told you to do. And according to the information that they published on their website, it indicated that the average retirement plan account balance amongst those ages 45 to 54 was about $115,000. It was actually reported as $115,497. So I'm making an assumption. I'm just saying, hey, maybe you're 50 years of age. Chances are you're not, but let's just say you are. And let's say in the next 15 years, you plan to retire. And you're going to do whatever it takes in order to make sure that you double the amount of money that you have saved for retirement. So it's going to get you to a number of around $230,000. So let's break down the math. Let's make sure we understand what we're talking about here. If you have $230,000 in retirement savings and you're making currently $100,000 per year, Vanguard says you need to plan on spending between 75 and 85% in retirement of what you're currently making. Now, I don't know the salient facts as to how they made that number work, but that's the information they provided. So let's say 15 years from now, you will need $75,000 a year in retirement. And you got to look at, okay, where's that money going to come from? And let's say, for giggles and grins, you're going to draw Social Security. And, and I say giggles and grins, which isn't a nice way to describe Social Security, because you and I have paid into it for our entire lifetimes. And I hope it's there for us to at least get something back. It's a pretty bad return on investment if you really look at the amount of money you've contributed to the government in relation to how much you'll get back, but I don't want to go there. Maybe I'll do a show on that one day. So you've got $75,000 that you have to achieve. And let's assume that you're drawing $3,000 a month in Social Security benefits. I mean, I think that's kind of a reasonable number 15 years from now. You have to do your projections, by the way. I can't do them for you because I don't know all your salient facts. But if you're getting $36,000 per year from Social Security, then what you need to do is you need to come up with the other $39,000 to get you to that $75,000 that you need to live. So let's do some simple math here. $39,000 per year works out to be $3,250. You tracking the math there? And if you have $230,000 all saved up in your retirement savings plan, and you're going to start drawing that down at a rate of $3,250 a month, you can go for 70 months. 70 months translates into just under 6 years. What that means is you're going to be out of money by the time you're 71. Yeah. And you're going to have to figure out how to live off of $3,000 a month that you get from Social Security because you will have torched your retirement savings. Now, I think there's a better way. I really do. And I think that better way is to change your mindset and understand that what you're doing now for retirement has the potential to fail you in the future. And when you calculate in things like increased health costs, which you may or may not have factored in when you did your retirement planning, that might create an additional burden on you. If you took that $115,000 and you learned how to invest it correctly into real estate assets, and let's say you focus on single-family homes. Let's say you're able to get into, well, for $115,000, I mean, reasonably in today's marketplace, you can easily get into 4 properties. Easily. And you're thinking, well, okay, what does that do for me? Well, 4 properties would have the potential to produce about $1,600 a month in cash flow. Yeah, $1,600 a month in cash flow. And I will tell you this, if you've got 15 years to work on this, which, by the way, is the slow way, you can easily pick up 4 more houses. And that will pretty much equate to what the differential is that you need in the future. Obviously, if you have more money set aside, you can get there much more faster. Now, keep in mind, real estate has the ability to pay you multiple ways. And when you learn how to invest correctly, you're going to get the benefits of appreciation. You're also going to get the benefits of something that we call equity capture, which means you're buying wholesale, but your valuations are retail pricing. And if you give it a couple of years and allow the valuation of those properties to go up, because we know historically that real estate doubles in value about every 20 years. It's faster in some places, it's slower in others. But I will tell you this, you could set that $1,600 a month aside and let it build up. and use that money to buy additional assets. Or you could use it to help sustain your current household. Whatever you want to do. Now, you might be thinking, hey, that real estate stuff, that takes a lot of time. And I'm here to tell you, it does not take a lot of time. It takes a lot of time when you don't know what you're doing. But when you become a member of an organization like Lifestyles Unlimited, and you give us the opportunity to teach you the fundamentals and to show you the map to financial freedom, you're going to get there a lot faster. As a matter of fact, if you're the age of 50 now, and you're making $100,000. Let's do the math on that. Let's see, you're making $100,000. Now, reality of it is this. You want to replace $100,000 per year, right? Well, you really don't have to replace $100,000 per year. Because when you're a real estate investor, what you find is that you're taxed a completely different way than the way you're taxed right now. Yeah, I mean, here's the reality. You're paying federal income tax, and you're probably at a fairly reasonable rate. Let's just say you're paying, 25% taxes. And you may have state taxes depending on where you live. Now in Texas, we don't have a state income tax, which is really cool. But in places like California and New York, man, they've got some heavy state income taxes. So if you're not paying all those federal taxes, you really only need about $75,000. Oh, by the way, you're also paying both sides of Social Security and Medicare, which we don't pay as real estate investors. And okay, that might have an impact in the amount of money you can draw in the future, but who cares? Because when you take that extra 7.5% off, you're looking at less money that you actually have to create for yourself to sustain the lifestyle you have right now. Oh, by the way, when you get to that point of retirement, you buy all your time back. Your life becomes yours again. You're in control of your life. You dictate when you do things and how you do things. Now, are you going to spend a little bit of time operating and managing your rental properties? Yes, you will spend a very little amount of time. And when I say little, it's like maybe, a couple hours a month, depending on what you're doing. Maybe if you acquire a property, you spend a little more time. I'm telling you, it's a completely different world. So let's say you're making that $100,000, and I'm running out of time here, so I got to do this a lot faster. Let's say your tax liability is 35%. Let's just go with a crazy number. So when you take $35,000 off of the $100,000, you only have to create income streams that would equate to replacing $65,000 per year. You heard me correctly. So what does that mean? House-wise? Well, let's see if I can do the math real quick here. So $65,000 per year works out to be about $5,400 per month. If you're investing in real estate that's producing $400 a month in positive passive income, you only need to get to 14 houses to replace everything. Yeah, we can help you get started. Go to freeworkshoplivestream.com and get registered for one of our free workshops, or send me an email at askal@luinc.com and ask me for a case study, and I'll get you the information.
The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.